Hi, hello, good morning everyone. I will be giving a short demo on Hadoop. We'll discuss what is Hadoop. So what are the components which are present in Hadoop? We should discuss about what is big data. So now everybody are, it's a buzzword. So big data, big data, big data, it's everywhere. So what is meant by big data? Okay. So currently if you see the trends from last 15 years, not more than 15 years or last 10 years, from last decade itself, you can see a lot of many platforms like many social networking platforms. So due to a explosion in the IT industry, basically the information technology industry and the improvement of artificial intelligence and automation. So we have a lot of data. So the data sources may be, so if you take a hospital, so if you take hospitals, so we have a lot of data, okay, coming from the hospitals. So and apart from that we have CC camera data. So you can see previously last 15 or 20 years back there was no much CC cameras. Now now there came a situation like a one CC camera is equal to 100 policemen. So they are gathering a lot of data. So in each and every signal, so in signal points we can find a camera, okay, in each and every end of the road or in any, I mean, any starting of the street or even in houses also. So we find CC cameras, okay. So this data is being recorded, and this would be a huge amount of data. For example, if, even if you take a small I mean, if you record something in your smartphone, you can see that nearly 100 MB. Even if you record a 2-minute video, a HD video would be more than 100 MB. So just imagine the amount of data generated from a small town, okay, through CC cameras. So this is one example for big data. So basically big data is in the range of terabytes to petabytes, petabytes to zettabytes also, not terabytes. Okay, so that amount of huge amount of data. So all these days we are dealing only with GBs of data. So if you take Oracle DB, so data storage mechanism, previously we used to store data, okay, that was structured data in or databases like Oracle, MySQL, all those things. And then after data requirements improved, and I mean, we introduced Teradata, so to hold terabytes of data, but that too will handle only structured data. So what is a structured data? Structured data is the data which is easy, I mean, which is human, I mean, not which is easily accessible. I mean, like if you take a CSV data, so it is comma separated and it is easily understandable, okay, that is structured data. So these traditional data systems, databases will be working on, I mean, they will be dealing only with structured data. But if I have a JSON file, okay, it is a semi-structured data, or XML file, it is semi-structured data. Most of the databases cannot deal with this. And I have an unstructured data, like suppose images. So if you take police, I mean, if you open Paytm app and open eChallan, okay, you can see eChallan for your, I mean, whenever you do a signal jumping or a policeman takes a photograph. So if you keep it in no parking, so everything would be recorded. So you can see that an image, okay. So that data is unstructured data, not a structured data. So to deal all these things in early 2000s, I guess, so Google came up with a platform to hold this, okay. So it was invented like that. So to deal with, they have invented an architecture called Hadoop, okay. Hadoop is a big data, okay. Big data means, as I already said, it is in terabytes and zettabytes of data, sorry, petabytes of data. So to deal with that big data, okay, we have introduced Hadoop framework. So Hadoop framework, okay, is introduced to deal with this big data. So this is first point number one, okay. So gathering all the data is fine, but you need to process the data, right? So what is the use if you gather all the data? I mean, so for example, you may gather all the old movies. So for suppose you have fascination of collecting the old movies which are released in 1990s to 2000, suppose, okay. Maybe during your childhood you have missed those movies and you want to see it in your laptop. So you have been collecting through torrents or something, okay. So this is what. So what I mean, you have a hard disk. You are storing them, okay. So what is the use if you store them in hard disks? You need to see it, right? You need to select the particular thing. For example, if I want to see some Amitabh Bachchan movie, so I need to process, okay, from the list of movies I need to select the Amitabh Bachchan movie, and I want to see some Janjeer or some movie, okay, just example. So that is the case. Understood, right? So there needs to be a framework for processing also, not only storage. Okay, so Hadoop will handle both storage as well as processing. So that is the thing. So Hadoop is nothing but a storage and processing framework to handle big data problem. Okay, the simple definition. So whenever they ask in interviews, if they ask like what is Hadoop, then you need to say like, you should be saying like, okay, Hadoop is nothing but a storage and processing framework to handle big data. Okay, clear? So this is introduction of Hadoop. And coming to me, I'm having 9.5 years of experience in big data technologies. Okay, like Hive, MapReduce, Sqoop, Pig, all those things. And most recently, I have started working from past 4.5 to 5 years. I have been working on Spark with Scala or Kafka. Okay, I will be explaining what is Spark, what is Scala, what is Kafka, all those things. Okay, so this is about me. Okay, and I am a certified Cloudera developer for Hadoop, CCDH 14 certified, and I will help you, okay, on completing certification. Let us discuss the scope of the demo. Okay, so this, I mean, once after this demo you will understand what is Hadoop. Okay, then you will come to understand, okay, why should I learn Hadoop. Okay, so if I learn Hadoop, how it would be useful in my career ladder. Okay, so all these things. So this course will be covering all the concepts, like basic concepts, like what is HDFS, what is MapReduce, what is Yarn, what is Hive, etc. Okay, and apart from that we will be dealing with what is Pig, what is HBase, all these things. So you, I mean, we'll be explaining everything in detail. And apart from that, we will be discussing about file formats. Okay, so we generally know about CSV file format, means comma separated value. It is plain simple file format, but there are many other file formats, okay, which will be used in real world. So for example, if a CSV file holds 100 MB of data, okay, the same data can be held by a parquet file. So there is a file format called parquet file format, where the data is stored as binary format. Okay, the binary data will be stored and it is compressed. So that 100 MB of data, it would be available in 50 MB itself. So we will be diving deep into what are the different file formats available. Okay, I think, and writables, so custom writable. So these things will be, I will be explaining you in the MapReduce concept. Okay, output formats, input format is human readable, suppose like a CSV, but I want output format in a binary format. Okay, so the thing, and troubleshooting, optimizations, all these things we can discuss. Okay, and apart from that, most important thing I would discuss is introduction to the world of Apache Spark and Scala. Okay, so I will explain you what is Spark. So have I said, what is Hadoop? Hadoop is nothing but a big data processing framework, okay, which is used for storage and processing. A big data framework which is used for storage and processing. Okay, for storage we use a component called HDFS. You can see here, HDFS is the component which is used for storage. So what HDFS will do is like, HDFS full form is Hadoop Distributed File System. So Hadoop Distributed File System, what it exactly does is like, so it is a collection of machines. So for example, collection of some commodity machines. Commodity machine means if I'm using my personal laptop, so that is a commodity machine. Okay, so for example, I have, so I want to set up a Hadoop cluster. Okay, so I have my computer configuration is 3 TB of data. Okay, hard disk space, and 8 GB RAM, suppose 8 GB RAM and 3 TB ROM. Okay, so this is my configuration. Okay, so now I can install Hadoop on 4 machines, suppose. Okay, so now my data size it would be storing would be 4 into 3, 12 TB of data. So 12 TB of data I can hold in these 4 machines. Okay, so the data is distributed across these 4 machines and is accessible across these 4 machines. So that is called distributed Hadoop distributed framework. So I will be diving deep into this in coming classes. Okay, so this is what is, I mean, distributed framework. So it is fault tolerant. So fault tolerant means the data would be replicated. Okay, so you have the data available across two nodes, two other nodes also. So there is a duplication of data on two other nodes. So why duplication? All these things we'll be discussing afterwards. Okay, so this is about HDF. So fault tolerant. Okay, scalable. Okay, even if, okay, suppose I want to, my data, I'm getting every day 10 GB of data. Suppose airlines data. Okay, airlines data or hospital data or CC camera data. Every day I'm getting huge amount of data. My cluster is not sufficient. I need to scale it. So I have option to scale it also. We have fault tolerant, scalable, okay, collection of machines, okay, so that you can store huge amount of data. So in that way big data storage is possible. So that is about big data. And we have discussed about storage. Now we need to discuss about the processing. So while processing, we have a framework called MapReduce. So Hadoop is a combination of HDFS and MapReduce. So without Hadoop, there is no HDFS, no MapReduce. Okay, without MapReduce is nothing but a framework. Okay, which is written in Scala or Java. So in maximum we'll be writing in Java. Okay, so in Java framework we'll be writing. So for example, you have data available in MySQL database. But what is the use if you don't write a query on that? You will be writing a select query, create query, update query, delete query. So without running all these queries, what there is no use of storing the data. Correct? The same applies here also. Without using a MapReduce, okay, or a processing framework, what is the use of storing huge amount of data on HDFS? Point number one. So the processing framework is MapReduce. So on top of MapReduce, we have introduced another framework called Hive, okay, which runs on top of MapReduce. Okay, so Hive is nothing but a dialect of SQL. So if you are very strong developers, okay, for example, if you are very strong developer, I mean, have very good experience on Java or Scala, you can go for MapReduce. If you have very good experience on SQL, writing SQL scripts, SQL queries, you can go for Hive. So in that, so there are many components in Hadoop. Okay, MapReduce, Hive, and Pig. Pig is, it is not a scripting language. Okay, without a knowledge on Java or on SQL also you can learn Pig. And coming to HBase is a NoSQL database. So all these Oracle, SQL are all my SQL databases, and HBase is a NoSQL database. Okay, we'll discuss. So these are all different processing frameworks. So these will be operating on top of data stored on HDFS. So Hadoop is equal to HDFS plus MapReduce. Okay, so MapReduce can be divided into, I mean, on top, on using this MapReduce algorithm, many things were developed like Hive. Okay, all these things. So this is about this one. And now coming to Spark. So similar to MapReduce, okay, a Spark was developed. So Spark is also a processing framework which is written in Java or Scala or in Python also. Okay, if you use Python, you can, we call it as PySpark. So Spark is nothing but a processing framework which is independent of Hadoop. Okay, so if you see, MapReduce is completely dependent on Hadoop. Okay, so without Hadoop there is no MapReduce. Okay, but Apache Spark is independent of MapReduce. So even without, I mean, even if there is no big data solution, we can implement Spark. For suppose I have data in some Oracle machine. Okay, I need to process the data. I can use Spark simply. Okay, there is no need of big data or HDFS. That is about Spark. So I will. So this is very currently most used framework on big data. Okay, so this is Apache Spark. And I will be dealing with setting up a single node Hadoop cluster or Apache Spark, okay, running on a Docker container. So we'll be discussing about, so what happens is these things we will be running on top of Unix machines, not on Windows machines. So because I mean, so to run on Unix machines, we need to run it, we need to set up a VMware workstation. Okay, so I will be explaining in coming slides. So will be, so the most important, I mean, the specialty of this learning in mind magics is you will be running Apache Spark or Apache Hadoop on top of Docker container. I will be telling what is Docker container in coming slides. Okay, so no institute, I mean, I don't know, like they would be telling this, they would be, I mean, if you go to other I mean, if you want to learn Docker, it will be separate. Okay, so Docker or Kubernetes or Google Cloud Platform, there are many things available, but these things you need to learn separately. So but here we will be giving an introduction to Docker and how to run Apache Spark on Docker also. And coming to the course outline, Okay, as I have already said, so we'll understand what is big data, so what are the challenges faced, and how Hadoop is a solution for the big data problem, already we have discussed. Okay, and next, how to navigate Hadoop cluster with ease. So I'll be, I mean, theoretically saying how a Hadoop production cluster would work. Okay, next, phases of MapReduce. So I'll be explaining MapReduce in detail. And next, write the optimized Hive queries. Okay, so we'll be discussing about Hive. Already I have explained what is MapReduce, what is Hive. Next, work with file formats like sequence file, Avro file, packet file. I said already we are working, we know more about CSV file, but there are many other file formats. Okay, like sequence file, Avro file. Okay, next, understand Hadoop architecture. So how this Hadoop architecture will run. Okay, I mean, like initially I said, like Hadoop is fault tolerant. So how is Hadoop fault tolerant? Okay, Hadoop is scalable. So how is Hadoop is scalable? Sorry, HDFS. So we'll be discussing all the things. Okay, next, tune and optimize the slow running MapReduce. So how to create a MapReduce job, how to run it on Hadoop cluster. Okay, we'll be discussing on that. And next, this is most important, introduction to Apache Kafka in detail. So what is Apache Kafka? So if you see a small intro on Apache Kafka is like so what is Kafka? Kafka is a live streaming framework. Like so, for example, a very layman example to take. If you take WhatsApp, okay, I'm typing a message. Instantly, within seconds, you are receiving it on the other end. Okay, so live streaming. So whatever the data you type here, you're getting the live streaming data. Or simply you take CricBuzz or Cricinfo if you watch cricket, or any, I mean, any sports thing, any sports website you can see. So for example, if there is a football match happening, so, or a cricket match happening, so there you will be completely, or tennis match happening continuously, the scores would be updated, right? So the framework, okay, there is a in between to messaging, to, I mean, to process that messaging. So to, from producer to consumer, we have a framework called Kafka. It is a live streaming processing streaming framework. Okay, so for example, if you take Sensex, stock exchange, stock exchange shares, so continuously the stock exchange state would be changing. Okay, so we need somebody to give the data. So the live streaming data is processed using Kafka. Okay, we'll be discussing Kafka in detail because these are all hot technologies in the current market. Okay, so I will be dealing with what is Hadoop, how, what is Hadoop, what is HDFS architecture, basics of MapReduce, Hive. Okay, and then mostly I will emphasize on Kafka. Okay, and Apache Spark. Okay, so that is about the course outline. So what are the things we will be discussing? And next, add-on topics. As I said, in-depth introduction to Apache Spark with Scala, setting up Apache Spark with Docker, and working on Spark structured streaming with Kafka. So this is most important. Okay, so working on Spark structured streaming. So Spark with Kafka. Okay, because I have worked on all these kinds of projects. Okay, so I can give my knowledge on this. And coming to the projects, yeah. So projects, we will be dealing with different kinds of projects. I will be giving the Git links for you, and moreover I will be telling you how to set up a Git repository. So Git is nothing but, so whatever the code we are doing, okay, we need to store it in a repository. Okay, so Git is an online platform who is giving us, we can store that code or Git repository. Okay, so I will be giving you a detailed walkthrough. So how to create a Git repository, what are the Git commands, and how to save your data in Git. Okay, and yeah, so in the projects also, I will, first project I will be seeing is setting up of IntelliJ is a framework. Okay, IntelliJ is a tool, IDE, integrated development environment. Okay, to write our code in Java or Scala. Okay, so we will be setting up IntelliJ, and there we will be writing our MapReduce jobs, Spark jobs, all those things. Okay, so that thing. And coming to other projects, so once our class progresses, okay, I will be sharing the Git links, different types of Git links. For example, like dealing with Twitter data. So when we are doing Kafka streaming, okay, I will help you with the Twitter data. So we'll be getting the Twitter data. So how to process the Twitter data? Okay, that project I will, we can do. Okay, and apart from that, many projects. Okay, okay. Next, lab setup. So the basic criteria is, it is better if you have a knowledge on Java or Scala, but it is not mandatory. We can have, I mean, I will give you a small walkthrough on how to do. Okay, so that is the thing. And basic Linux commands. So as I said, we will be doing everything on Unix system, okay, not on Windows system. So you should have little bit knowledge on Linux commands. So I will also walk through so which commands are required, okay. And system requirements. So basically 8 GB RAM machine should be there, because we would be installing VMware workstation. You can see here VMware workstation. Okay, what does this VMware workstation will do is, actually we need to run all our commands on Unix system, okay, but we are using a Windows system. If there is a Unix system, then no need of VMware workstation. But if there is no Unix system, we need to set up a Unix system on top of our Windows system. So we need to use a VMware workstation. Inside that we will be using image, okay, of a Unix machine. So in that, so we'll be running all Unix command over there. So that is the thing. So that is called VMware. So that is called virtual machine, okay. So, and there is another concept called Docker. Docker is nothing but it is a container, okay, which is not a virtual machine, but it is developed by third party tool called Docker, okay. I mean, you see here, what is Docker means. If you take a big ship, for example, recently you have seen in Suez Canal, like one evergreen ship has plugged. You can see there is a big ship. Inside that there would be many containers, right? So the same concept. So Docker is a system which would maintaining many containers. So for example, I want a Spark Docker image. So okay, so I would be installing a Docker application on my machine, and it will take care. It is a cloud. It is on cloud, and it will be take care of running the, I mean, Spark. So no need to. So if you take a VMware machine, so what we need to do in VMware machine, you need to set up the VMware workstation. Inside that you need to install the Unix system. Inside that you need to install Hadoop, okay. But these are all not required if you install Docker desktop on your machine. So once you install Docker desktop on your machine, okay, we will be pulling. So there are some set of Docker commands. So using the Docker commands, we'll be pulling the Spark workspace or Hadoop environment. So Hadoop setup would be done on some machines or single node or multi node machines, and we would be accessing those machines if you have an internet connection. That's it, as simple as it is, okay. So we would be accessing that container. No need to install anything on our machine, okay. So that is about Docker. So with simple Docker commands, we can log into, I mean, that we can directly run Unix command. I mean, once you have access to the container, okay, you can run the Unix commands, okay. It is similar to doing everything on VMware workstation. So those things I will be dealing, okay. So nobody are using I mean, most of the projects, Docker has become, I mean, in many projects they are using Docker containers. And we have another concept called Kubernetes, Google Cloud Platform. So all these things are, it is a Docker orchestration machine, okay. So a set of Dockers will become Kubernetes cluster, okay. So these are all another topics. So I will be giving introduction on that also. And additional course resources, like here I will be giving but Apache Spark certificate. So now I don't think Hadoop certification is there. So Apache HDFS, I mean, all these things will be covered on Cloudera certification. So there's a, I will be telling you the tips and how to crack the certification, okay. And apart from that, mock interviews. So this is very important. So in my nine and a half years of experience, I have attended many interviews, thousands of interviews, okay. So we will be, and I have taken many interviews too, okay. So we know what questions should be asked. So what is our expectation. So everything we have a good knowledge. So we would be training you, okay, which question, so how to set up a machine. So while training itself, while the course is running itself, we will be providing you. So this point is very important for interviews. So they will ask this question in interviews, okay. So you need to answer like this. So everything. So and once after the course is complete, okay, we will be taking mock interviews, okay. So mock interviews, and we'll be telling you what are your setbacks, so where are you lagging, everything would be taken care, okay. So that is about the mock interviews. And coming to certifications, already I have told, right, certifications will be Cloudera training certification will be there, we'll be taking it. And apart from that, yeah, once you complete this course successfully, you will be given a certificate, okay. So more than the certificate, you will gain a lot of amount of knowledge, like that thing I can 100% sure. Thank you so much for attending the demo. So yeah, so I think you are clear on what is Hadoop and what things I would be covering on this.